Welcome to the Get Over Yourself podcast. This is author and athlete Brad Kearns discovering ways to be healthy, fit, and happy in hectic, high-stress modern life. So let's slow down and take a deep breath, take a cold plunge, and expertly balance that competitive intensity with an appreciation of the journey. That's the theme of the show. Here we go. The Get Over Yourself podcast is brought to you by Almost Heaven, beautiful compact home use sauna kits, ancestral supplements, grass-fed organ meats in a capsule, DNA Fit, genetic testing for custom diet and exercise recommendations, Integro Health, high-potency liquid probiotic called Flourish, Organifi, organic powdered superfoods, delicious green, gold, and red powders, Wild Idea Buffalo, sustainable, grass-fed, beyond organic, real ketones, clean burning ketones for athletic performance and fat loss. And check out the bradkearns.com/shop page. That's my personal selection of favorite products for health, fitness, and peak performance. And here we go with the show. We have the stimulation from the outside world. We have things that we perceive to be difficult and stressful, and then we activate the stress response because we choose to get stressed by these circumstances and happenings. But we don't necessarily have to. I could probably liquidate my assets, whatever it is, my retirement account, pay that 10% penalty, max out your credit cards, and go get yourself a nice big-ass boat. And then, as the bills pile up at home, you might experience some extraordinary pain and suffering for being a dumbass and buying a boat that you can't really afford. The harder you train, the more energy you need to devote to recovery. We just don't think in those parameters very well. We think in terms of go, 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 and then collapse on the couch or collapse into bed, and that qualifies as recovery. I want to enthusiastically recommend DNA Fit, cutting-edge genetic testing to deliver a personal profile that will guide your fitness and nutrition goals. So simple, you spit in a tube, mail it off, and soon you get by email this super cool infographic where it delivers all these important insights and elements of your genetic profile at a glance. How you metabolize carbs, caffeine, vitamin D, lactose, and much more. My exercise profile was mind-blowing because it revealed my genetic muscular makeup to be 54% power strength and only 46% endurance. As a lifelong endurance athlete, I've been banging my head against the wall, training in a manner that was in conflict with my genes. Don't wait 20 years making mistakes like I did. Find out what diet and exercise patterns are most aligned with your genetics at DNAFit.com. This stuff used to be super expensive. It was a few $100s. Now it's pennies. Not really, but it's a great deal. And you get 30% off if you just put in the code GOY30. Check out everything at DNAFit.com. Welcome to another breather show. Yes, catching my breath after a whirlwind trip to the beautiful Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Eugene, Portland, podcast binge / vacation offering. Great times up there in the summer. These folks in the Pacific Northwest know how to live and enjoy the outdoors. And I think it's because they cram a lot of it into the available summer months with the pleasant weather. It's kind of like that stored up, pent up energy where they have a greater appreciation for the recreational opportunities come summer, time on the water with the boats, the paddles, whatever they're doing, playing golf in the long hours of the evening. Kind of like Scandinavia, where they're having their parties and their festivals and all kinds of stuff crammed into those long days of summer, and they can survive another winter. Also, my friends that located up there do a great job getting out during the winter months to warmer climates and kind of balancing those long, rainy months with excursions, coming back feeling refreshed and energized. None more so than my cousin Hillary in Portland, who went to Guatemala for 4 months for a Spanish immersion experience. Christopher Smith, my golf guru from Eugene, commonly goes down to Florida or over to France or Costa Rica to teach golf in the wintertime, making it work. And guess what? With the continued science around climate change, some people think, I read an article saying that the Pacific Northwest could be the go-to place to live because everything south of there would become too hot and inhospitable. Wow, what a terrible, scary thought that is, but a clever little joke for my breather show about my time up there. But I do notice that distinct difference when in comparison to where I grew up in Southern California, where generally speaking, we take the weather and the various entertainment options for granted. We can play golf 355 out of 365 days a year. So that opportunity to go out and play 36 holes and crazy adventures like that, it's easy to pass on it. Same with going to an athletic contest, because there's so many other things going on in LA, unlike in Sacramento, where the Kings, even though they've sucked for many, many years, still sell out the arena because it's the only game in town. So great things to appreciate. I also appreciate about the Pacific Northwest the incredible interest in healthy eating and healthy living. I saw some bragging by Seattle as the most eco-conscious settlement in America, probably substantiated in some way. Portland, of course, we know from the satirical show Portlandia how deep into the healthy living, progressive living aspect people in Portland are. Fun stuff. Oh, the farmers markets in the summer are fantastic. How can you eat better than that? Grabbing all those fresh berries. You go down to the world famous Pike's Market in downtown Seattle on the waterfront and get the fresh fish or crab. Oh yeah, that's good summer living. Even the ice cream. Oh my gosh. I kind of swore off ice cream because I tend to consume a lot of it over the past years of my life. But walking around the streets of Seattle and Portland, this gourmet, healthy, natural, organic ice cream is in vogue. I found a place called Frankie and Joe's in Seattle that serves vegan ice cream. Absolutely delicious. You can look on my Instagram. I consumed a flavor called Salty Caramel Ash, and it was black colored ice cream because they had activated charcoal in there, which is good for your digestive tract. My girlfriend had a flavor that was made with kale, actual kale inside the ice cream. Delicious green looking treat. And so we indulged accordingly. Also had a great sequence of podcasts and meetings and learned all kinds of fun, exciting stuff. You're going to love these shows, but I thought I'd do a breather show with some brief highlights from each of these wonderful conversations, starting with Debbie Potts because things got so busy and crazy, and I had to reschedule my trip at the last minute because I got sick coming back from a vacation in Mexico for the 4th time in a row. Oh, I'm so heartbroken that I can't go back to those places I love in rural Mexico experience. Very scary now. I don't know what's up with that, but I'm talking to a lot of experts about gut health. We're going to have them on the show, figure out why Bradley Kearns gets knocked down every time he goes to Mexico. Anyway, new schedule. Didn't connect with Debbie live for a podcast. She had to fly off for a weekend, but we met briefly. And I love her holistic method that she has devised, targeting, of course, the endurance athlete population, which is where she comes from. She's a high-performing Ironman triathlete who had an extreme health consequence of years and years of going crazy, and now has been on a wonderful journey into the fields of functional medicine, functional nutrition, alternative approach, trying to keep things healthy and balanced instead of constantly go, 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 which works for a while, and then you fall apart. So she's got a great show, The Holistic Athlete, and we have a podcast in the future that we recorded over Skype because we're so tight and friendly. We didn't necessarily need to sit down, but I'm always striving to have as many sit-down interviews as possible because I'm going for maximum quality, maximum insights, extracting, strengthening that connection, seeing where the conversation goes, and oftentimes the magic happens when you're in person and you go in different directions than you thought when you're sitting in front of your notes talking through the computer. We have enough of that today, don't we? Anyway, it was a great pleasure to hang out with Mike Mutzel, the internet sensation at highintensityhealth.com. This guy is a total badass who a few years ago, he was in the health and functional medicine peak performance space, and noticed that there was a unfulfilled niche, which was with all this great audio from the early leaders in the space, no one was doing high definition, high quality video. So he taught himself how to use sophisticated camera equipment, packed his bags, and traveled all over the place to sit down with a great many leading authors, researchers, scientists, athletes, coaches, and build this high intensity health library of fabulous videos. So go check out his YouTube site. It's second to none. One great insight I pulled out was nose breathing at night is extremely important and critical to your health. So many people falter here. We know about the common occurrences of sleep apnea and the serious conditions, but even on a routine level where you might not notice any adverse effects, you're getting less oxygen to the brain when your nose gets stuffed up and you start breathing through your mouth, activating that sympathetic response rather than nurturing the parasympathetic response when you're sleeping. So he's big into this practice called mouth taping to ensure that you breathe through your nose. He also set us straight about keto and the important concept that it's not about stuffing your face with fat to engender ketone production. Entirely different. We talk about that a lot on the keto podcast on Primal Blueprint, but doing it in a healthy, sensible way where you build your metabolic flexibility and get good at burning internal sources of energy, namely fat, and then producing ketones as needed. I also like the functional medicine space where they're always talking about swimming upstream and identifying the causes of adverse health consequences rather than just treating the symptoms with medication, taping stuff up and sending you back out there into the game of life. So great insights from him. And then in this hotbed Seattle area of talent and health experts, I drove a short distance to catch up with the recovery-based fitness guru, Joel Jameson. Had a great remote podcast with him a while back. And what a great chance to connect. And this guy, again, blew my mind with these amazing insights where, as you reflect further on his concept of recovery-based training, where recovery is the emphasis, the one that we most often overlook, and him offering some profound one-liners, such as the harder you train, the more energy you need to devote to recovery. We just don't think in those parameters very well. We think in terms of go, 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 and then collapse on the couch or collapse into bed, and that qualifies as recovery. His concepts are way more sophisticated than that, especially the concept that was newly exposed to me during the podcast called rebound training. And here he has a specific protocol, a specific sequence of exercises and movements that you can do in the gym to stimulate a parasympathetic nervous system response. That is the calming, relaxing state, the rest and digest. We know this is activated through things like yoga classes, foam rolling, receiving a massage, all that kind of stuff. So he has a protocol where you get into the gym, even if you're tired and fried and stiff and sore from a high intensity workout previously, and you go in and you do some gentle movement sequences, you focus on your breathing, you do even some crazy stuff like short intervals, let's say a 10-second sprint on an exercise bike or what have you, and then focus intently on lowering your heart rate over the next 60 seconds, a very long duration recovery period. And when you can get good at lowering your heart rate, let's say you're looking at the screen and concentrating intently on calming down and lowering that heart rate from the spike of the sprint effort, when you get good at that practice, you can do it throughout the day. So when you get stressed at work and you have a choice interaction in the hallway with someone that you're in conflict with, you can go sit at your desk, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and manage the stress response. He also further clarified some insights about the very popular practice of heart rate variability. Another amazing insight that when your HRV number is extra high, usually we're congratulating ourselves and celebrating just how well recovered we are, that oftentimes can mean the opposite, that you're still fighting hard to fully recover and that you need more rest. Yes, incredible insights. Listen to the show, and then on to another neighbor of these folks in the North Seattle area, Dr. Tommy Wood of Nourish, Balance, Thrive. Again, so great to meet and connect in person after numerous remote podcasts on the Primal Blueprint channel, and also our consultations with me participating in his fabulous Nourish, Balance, Thrive testing and evaluation and consultation program for health and peak performance. So hanging out with Tommy, the greatest surprise of all was the magnificent beasts that he had at his home, especially this fabulous white boxer named Bruce Bowen, the great San Antonio Spurs player. And I didn't even know white boxers existed. And I do believe it's one of the finest breeds on earth. Unfortunately, the American Kennel Company does not believe so, and they don't recognize the white boxer as an official breed. And if you tell this little champ that was so excited to see me when I first entered the home that he's not recognized as an official breed, it might be heartbreaking news, but I doubt it, because he's so happy to be alive and lick things and jump in my face. No problem there for Bowen. What a guy. Waiting patiently while we recorded through 2 fantastic shows. And the best part about Tommy is this guy's big into the science and the research. He recently got his PhD on pediatric brain disease from University of Oslo. He studied at Oxford and Cambridge. Top shelf scientific guy, but he's always making a sincere effort to bring things back to the simple and the practical. The importance of having a dog to actually boost your health in a measurable way, because all of a sudden you have the motivation to get outdoors frequently, twice a day, and also learn how to play at all times, because a dog is playful and it gets you into that playful mindset. His other fabulous one-liner was that you're liquidating your assets when you overstimulate the fight or flight response with your hectic, busy life or your extreme training regimen that's too much for you. Whew, love that. And we were just talking about boats, because I saw a bunch of cool boats on the harbor during my vacation time, and thinking, man, wouldn't that be fun to have a huge ass boat that you could take your friends out there and sleep a bunch of people out there. And oh my gosh, looking at this thing go by, wondering how much it costs, and realizing that for many of us, we could look at that boat and say, yeah, I could probably liquidate my assets, whatever it is, my retirement account, pay that 10% penalty, max out your credit cards, and go get yourself a nice big ass boat. And then as the bills pile up at home, you might experience some extraordinary pain and suffering for being a dumbass and buying a boat that you can't really afford. Unfortunately, we do that all the time with our decisions about fitness, exercise, even our workplace behavior, and our taking on too much, having trouble saying no, not wanting to let people down, and driving ourselves to exhaustion over and over, liquidating our assets to get through the busy day or the busy semester or the busy march to the IPO in our startup company, or the build up to the big, magnificent peak competitive event at the end of the season. So don't liquidate your assets, man. It's a bad deal. You're going to pay for it later. Another tip Tommy gave was, or reminder, that the stress response is entirely under our control. Yes, a traffic jam, by and large, by wide agreement, is a crappy thing, especially when you're trying to get to the airport on time. It also sucks when you take your car into Firestone Auto Care in Sacramento, California, and wait patiently for 2 hours for them to say, oh, we don't have a tech that can work on this type of air conditioning system. And I say, oh, why the F didn't you tell me when I pulled up here 2 hours ago and sit here waiting patiently for you to fix my broken air conditioning when the temperature is 99 degrees and I'm driving around sweating inside the car? So we have the stimulation from the outside world. We have things that we perceive to be difficult and stressful, and then we activate the stress response because we choose to get stressed by these circumstances and happenings. But we don't necessarily have to. I could have enjoyed that time in the Firestone waiting room, getting precious work done, interacting on an important project, and then gracefully saying, "Oh, okay, thank you. I'll go somewhere else then," with a big smile and none worse for the wear. But we have to constantly recalibrate and reassess what's important to us. Is it really important to get angry and emotional over this interaction, or can we choose a different response and keep the fight or flight at bay for when we really need it, which is basically for life and death matters, which hardly ever exist today, or for those peak performance athletic efforts where we are well rested, recovered, and ready to harness a peak competitive effort with the fight or flight response in full bloom at those times when we really want to. Much more from Tommy. And then I was on via train and bus to the beautiful city of Eugene, Oregon, home of the Oregon Ducks and new home of speed golf guru and top golf professional teacher Christopher Smith, Eugene Country Club. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful town. And we hit it hard on my short visit there. We packed it all in. We did a very long run for us two old guys all over town, checking out the constantly updated University of Oregon campus. Most particularly, they tore down the historic Hayward Stadium, site of many great track meets, including Olympic trials, national championships, NCAA championships, and they're building a big old brand new one, probably thanks to Uncle Phil and other great benefactors. That's Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, who has donated many, many millions of dollars to improve that campus. But they're going to host the World Track and Field Championships in 2021, the first time this great event, as good as the Olympics, probably better in terms of the quality of track competition, first time in the USA. So be there in Eugene. I think it's 2021. Anyway, we had some great conversation in between our slow jaunt throughout town. We saw the Prefontaine Memorial on that run as well, picked some wild blackberries, and then sat down and talked to Christopher about his fabulous training concept known as Train to Trust, and the idea of context specificity when you are practicing golf or any other peak performance endeavor. And what that means is that you want to simulate your competitive experience in practice so that it actually counts and transfers into effective brain learning when it's time to perform. The common example, the simple example of not doing this is going to the putting green at the golf course and teaching yourself to make 10 3-footers in a row on the practice green under no pressure, repeating the same putt over and over. And then, oh my goodness, you get into the tournament and you're on the 18th hole and have a 3-foot putt just like you practiced on the putting green over and over. And this one's for all the marbles, and you totally choke. And it's because you never simulated that pressure and that competitive intensity during your casual practicing on the golf putting green. Whatever sport it is, if it's a basketball player shooting free throws, don't just sit there and try to make 50 free throws before you're allowed to go home and leave the gym. Instead, how about do a couple sprints up and down the court, and then breathing hard, stop, suddenly walk over to the free throw line and try to knock 2 of them down, and then continue on with another drill, just like you might experience in a game where you're playing, you're working hard, and all of a sudden you're called to the free throw line and you're hot and sweaty rather than sitting there and worse, listening to a podcast while you're practicing free throws or distracting your brain from total competitive focus. So Christopher taught us a lot about effective practice for whatever you're trying to do, and also about mindset, an evolved mindset for the athlete, doing things like having compassion for your mistakes. That's a quote he offers up frequently, especially to frustrated golfers who get angry and have a temper tantrum or offer self-limiting beliefs and discouraging thoughts as they're making their way through the golf course rather than enjoying a beautiful walk in nature and just taking each shot as a new opportunity to execute a peak performance endeavor without worrying or stressing about your score or what happened on your last shot. Great stuff. Also, during this trip, I caught up over Skype with an author by the name of Scott Carney, who wrote a very interesting book called What Doesn't Kill Us, with a very descriptive subtitle, How Freezing Water, Extreme Altitude, and Environmental Conditioning Will Renew Our Lost Evolutionary Strength. And we had a very interesting conversation where he started out on this project as an investigative journalist who specializes in debunking gurus and slicksters promoting things that aren't really legit. And he was assigned to go cover the now famous Iceman, Wim Hof of Holland, who does extraordinary feats of superhuman resistance to cold water, ice. He packs himself in ice for an hour and 45 minutes to break a new world record. Most people would be dead in much less time than that. He climbed Mount Everest in a pair of shorts and no other garment. And so Scott went over there to Wim Hof's training camp in Poland. This is long before he was famous and now a pretty prominent figure in the progressive health scene. And he couldn't wait, licking his chops, couldn't wait to expose this guy as a fraud. And what happened was he participated in the training like any good journalist should, and amazingly performed amazing feats of resistance to cold in a very short time. I think a week after he got there, he climbed a snowy mountain in the middle of winter in Poland, just wearing running shorts and reporting that he was boiling hot the whole time. Great show there. And then wrapping everything up back in Portland, hanging out with my main man, Brian McAndrew, who masters all the audios on this podcast and also all the video content, the fabulous video content that you see on my YouTube as well as Primal Blueprint. And we sat down and talked. The reluctant guest on the podcast is the second time I've been able to rope him in. And we had some great insights for the listeners. I think you're going to love this show. He's a young guy. He's only 31 years old, but he's had an amazing life journey so far, including battling some serious health setbacks and detours and consequent recalibrations on a constant quest for health and peak performance. He's been deep into the keto thing for 2.5 years now, constantly evaluating and tweaking and putting his fabulous meals and recipes up there on his Instagram page, Whole Dudes, Doods. He's also very accomplished in the gym and the strength training and high intensity workout scene, always tweaking and offering insights. We talk so much off camera and off recording when we're traveling together and filming. So it was really great to sit down with him. Some fun stuff, how he went down to LA after college, was working in a soul-sucking job and trying to keep fit, and got into the vegan thing and the chronic cardio thing, running on the beach, eating crappy food or not enough nutrition, got really sick, lost a bunch of weight. Then he goes back and gets into this strength training mode where he got blown up with big muscles and extra size during his quest to just get a little bit stronger. His wife called him a fat chicken face, so he had to recalibrate, get into the keto thing. So some really interesting life exploration, life journey commentary from Brian McAndrew, always teeing us up for practical health tips and reflection when we're doing things like keto or pursuing peak performance goals in the gym and in other sports. And that was my trip to the Pacific Northwest and my many guests and fun insights. So I hope this will entice you to go and listen to all the full-length shows that I mentioned. Thanks for listening to this one. Da, 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 da. Thank you for listening to the show. We would love your feedback at getoveryourselfpodcast@gmail.com. And we would also love if you could leave a rating and a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a hassle. You have to go to desktop iTunes, click on the tab that says ratings and reviews, and then click to rate the show anywhere from 5 to 5 stars. And it really helps spread the word so more people can find the show and get over themselves, because they need to. Thanks for doing it. Hey, how about a backwards commercial? Are you ready? So go to OrganifyShop.com and enter the discount code BRAD for 20% off your order. That's ORGANIFI shop.com. Why would I do something as silly as a backwards commercial? It's because I'm positive you have to try this stuff. Trust me, order some now. It's going to change your life. Organifi is an organic superfood supplement company. They're known for their greens. You take them when you travel, get all your nutrition. But I like their top secret, Organifi Gold, warm relaxation beverage. This is the single best tasting tea you will ever try in your life. So if you want something soothing, delicious, nutritious at the end of your busy, productive day, pour yourself a scoop of Organifi Gold. What's in there? Turmeric, the anti-inflammatory superstar, as the base. And then, listen to this, smooth coconut milk, cinnamon, ginger, lemon balm, and 2 super mushrooms. It's legit. It's delicious. Check it all out at OrganifiShop.com. And don't forget to put in B.rad for 20% off. Try Organifi Gold. If you're not totally satisfied, send it back to me and I'll keep it.